You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Tuesday. Ha! Caught myself. It's Tuesday. I have no idea what day it is. Should know. It's late on Tuesday because I was just too busy doing all kinds of other stuff. And excuse Zuri barking upstairs. But nonetheless, it is Tuesday. Believe it or not. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I am your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. And I want to get into something today. I was going to do a deep dive on Northwestern, and I kind of decided, I'll save that for Wednesday. I'm giving PFF the week off. Let's save that for, we're coming off a bye week. Can't talk about what happened last week. But rather wait until we can talk post Northwestern, what the Michigan State game is going to mean. So we're giving them a little bit of a breather when it comes to that. So tomorrow, Wednesday, we're going to get more into a deep dive into Northwestern, what the numbers say. I know people are going to look at it as an obvious win. If you talk to the players, that's not the case. But if you also talk to the players, one of the things that they say is they are not looking ahead. They have to get through Northwestern, something Joel Honigfer said. Like, in order to get to Michigan State, we have to get through Northwestern. So, no, we're not looking ahead because we have to get through Northwestern to get there. So we have to pay attention. And not to call out one singular person who posted on Facebook, but I've seen it outside of just Facebook, right? Obviously, otherwise I wouldn't say anything. But this is a tired trope that happens constantly seeing people saying this same thing. We've had podcasts in which I've addressed this very thing before. So we're going to get into it again today. I do have a little bit of a different take than I used to, but it's kind of mostly the same. But that take is that, like, I posted the Michigan State start time was announced yesterday. It was announced yesterday. And Brave Warrior came onto social media, all angry on his keyboard, and he said, "Stop looking ahead. We've got Northwestern this week." And this is my very common yearly PSA for anyone who says something like that. The team is the one that should not be looking ahead. The fans, you guys, or the media, me, can look ahead all we want. That's the beauty of it. What we do has no bearing on whether or not Michigan wins versus Northwestern or not. What they do does. So I think it's just kind of crazy to me because I understand, like, you get that one game at a time type mentality. I understand. Now, here is where I do demur somewhat, because I do agree with what Joel Klatt said after the Wisconsin game. He said, like, for Michigan fans, I would say take things one game at a time. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I actually agree with him on that sense, because I think that you don't get too high and don't get too low, right? That is kind of what the crux of what he's saying. But I'll put it this way as well, though. If Michigan lost to Northwestern, it would be a debacle of epic proportions given what Northwestern is shown to be this year. Yes, it's the 3-3 team. It's not Nebraska, right? Nebraska at 3-4. If Michigan would have lost to Nebraska, it would have been disappointing, but it would have been understandable. If Michigan lost to Northwestern, that would be a different scenario entirely, because Northwestern's wins are against who? Nobody. Not that Nebraska's wins are anything great, but I mean, Nebraska beat Northwestern, was it 56-7? Not saying Michigan has to win by a similar margin, but I mean, certainly this is a game where Michigan needs to go in and do what it needs to do. And it should, right? If it doesn't, that's a debacle. Michigan, the players, need to focus on Northwestern. We, you and me, We can do whatever we want. We can focus on Ohio State right now. We can focus on the bowl game. We can focus on 2024. We can focus on the Oklahoma series or going to Washington and like whatever. We can focus on Notre Dame in 2034. We can focus on whatever we want because that's what we have the capability of doing. Because again, what you and I do has zero bearing on what happens to this Michigan football team, save for it does have some bearing if it's the case of you're tweeting mean things at them and they see it, or that could have a bearing in a negative way. If you're tweeting at recruits and it's negative, that can have a negative impact when it comes to the team as well, in the sense of recruits see that type of thing. It does have a direct impact. I'm not saying that you have no impact, but this take things one game at a time mentality, like, no, you aren't impacting. Like, if you're sitting there saying, man, I can't wait for this Michigan State game, or hey, let's take a look ahead at what this game means and what it is, whatever, you can do that. The thing that Joel Klatt said that I agree with, essentially, when you boil it down to his take things game by game, is essentially don't get too high and don't get too low, right? Like, if they lose to Michigan State, don't get too low, right? Don't be like, well, there goes the season. Because certainly certainly they could come back and win against Penn State and beat Ohio State. We saw it happen essentially in 2011. They lost to Michigan State. They lost a game that they had no business losing to Iowa. And if I remember, there was some refereeing shenanigans in that game. There was a touchdown that should have counted that didn't. So anyway, with that in mind, you can do whatever you want. You can focus on whatever game you want. It has no bearing on what the team does. So get that out of your head. But just at the same time, like, Michigan loses to Michigan State, don't get too low. If Michigan wins against Michigan State, say it's an emphatic win, don't start, buying tickets to Indianapolis yet. That's the mentality, because you don't want to get to the point where you're heartbroken when Michigan loses to Ohio State, which I am still predicting, right? Like, maybe they do win against Ohio State. Maybe what we saw in the first 3-4 weeks of the season, or 3 weeks of the season, is more endemic to what Ohio State is compared to what we saw the last 3 weeks that they've played. Maybe that's the case. Maybe Michigan has all the right pieces and gets better and has this game plan that's incredible and absolutely stifles Ohio State. Certainly could happen. 2017, they had no business being in that game, and that game was certainly much closer than the score. So that's what I'm telling you. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. Take things as they come. But now, at least 6 games in, we know what this Michigan team essentially is. I mean, we'll find out more on a week-to-week basis, right? But, if Northwestern comes out and passes all over with Ryan Helinski, he had a good game against Rutgers. Didn't score well by PFF's grading, but still, like, certainly got yards, got completions. If he's out there throwing the ball all over Michigan, don't take that as a fact, like, oh no, we suck again, and we're never going to be able to beat Ohio State this way. That is the one way in which I will say, don't extrapolate something that happens in one game to the next, because you never know, right? Especially if it's a one-game thing. We're all victim of the Rutgers game and feeling the lows that came with that. And even with from the second half of Rutgers all the way through Wisconsin, even though Michigan did an admirable job rushing the ball versus Wisconsin, it kind of felt like, right, maybe Michigan doesn't just go out there and run the ball all over everybody. And then you see them come out against Nebraska and do it like pretty much like they had before, 100 yards less, but still. So anyway, that's my advice to you. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. Don't take a single game like anomaly, the defense falling apart in the way it did against Nebraska and saying, well, that's going to happen for the rest of the year. Pack it in. Don't take a big win once Michigan gets into the meat of the schedule here and start being like, ooh, yeah, just stay even keel. But look at whatever game you want. You could look at Penn State right now. You can look at sit there and look at the numbers and say, yeah, I think Michigan's got a good job, good chance to get something against Penn State. certainly someone like me in the media, that's part of my job, is to make predictions, to sit there and say, all right, here's what we think is going to happen. So far, Michigan looks like it's going to outperform predictions by a long shot. If it doesn't, then that's a huge debacle. Anyway. All right. I also want to talk a little bit about some of the Michigan State things. I'm getting so much blowback from Michigan State fans from some of the things that I said yesterday about the podcast on Morning Drip. So I want to bring something into that. They're really upset, particularly that I'm saying, like, hey, y'all ain't played nobody, and they're like, oh, Michigan ain't played nobody, Paul. There are actually some numbers out there that suggest that isn't 100% right, 100% accurate, that I'm more accurate. We're going to get to a couple things. I'm also going to give a shout out to someone who, they shared with me a site that I've been to, but I don't use. So I've been to it quite a few times and I don't use. So I'm going to give a shout out to them on it, but we'll use it all here in the coming moments, because I'm going to continue to look ahead, because, again, if Michigan doesn't beat Northwestern handily, at least by 2 to 3 scores, then it's a pretty big debacle. All right. Anyway. All right, college football fanatics, have you heard about PrizePicks? PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. I love this. I know you will too. PrizePicks offers every sport you can think of, like NFL, college football, NBA, college basketball, Major League Baseball, soccer, MMA, and more. PrizePicks offers more college football props than anyone in the world. It offers the star players of the Power 5 as well as the mid-major players you might not have ever even heard of. PrizePicks offers any prop you can think of, from yardage to touchdowns, even interceptions thrown. Make your deposit. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. You'll receive that 100% instant deposit match of up to $100. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. And it's just you versus the projected numbers. PrizePicks allows mixed sport athletes. That means you can take the over on LeBron combined with the under on Mahomes in the same entry. Use the award-winning app that you can get on the Apple App Store or Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. PrizePicks is also safe and offers fast withdrawals, so don't hesitate. Check out PrizePicks.com, or you can go to the App Store. Download the app today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. All right, also want to tell you about RockAuto.com. That's a family business. They've been serving auto parts customers online for 20 years. Go to RockAuto.com to shop for auto and body parts from hundreds of manufacturers. They have everything from engine control modules to brake parts to tail lamps, motor oil, even new carpet. Whether it's for your classic or daily driver, get everything you need in a few easy clicks delivered directly to your door. The RockAuto.com catalog is unique, and it's also remarkably easy to navigate. Simply, where am I at? I lost my spot there. Quickly see all the parts available for your vehicle and choose the brand, specifications, and prices that you prefer. Best of all, prices at RockAuto.com are always reliably low. They're also the same for professionals and for do-it-yourselfers, so why spend up to twice as much for the same parts? Go to RockAuto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck, right locked on in their How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com. All right, we are gonna use Mr. Computer here, this beast of a machine. I will tell you the great thing about this is that yesterday, for instance, it's just so powerful. Like I told you, I got an iMac Pro, used, but like just beastly. Still significantly better than the new MacBooks they just announced yesterday, the MacBook Pros. Which is what I've used for years, is a MacBook Pro. I still have it sitting right here. But this iMac Pro, I got the video that normally used to take me an hour to 2, sometimes 3 hours to export. It took 15 minutes yesterday. 15 minutes! So, it still takes a little time to upload. So there's still a little bit of that. But there won't be this giant disparity of, sometimes I'm sitting on a podcast, the audio, before I upload it or publish it, while I wait for the video to get done, and then I'm eventually like, all right, you know what, I got to get it up. So like today, for instance, is 8:30 p.m. right now. Waited a lot of the day to get this done, so I finally get it going, right? And it's I mean, it's not going to take very much time. Like the audio will be up at like by 9 p.m. at the latest. It will certainly be up before then, I'm sure. But the video won't be up. It won't be up like at like midnight, like it would have been otherwise. It actually probably like 1 or 2 a.m. It's going to be up around no later than 10. So that's cool. I'm really excited about that. So I want to give a shout out to on Twitter. It's Namera Jimmy P at Jimbo Pete. He sent me. I've been here before, but BCFtoys.com. It's Brian Fremo and his FBI ratings. He wanted to tout a certain stat, which I'm always evolving, right? Like I explained, I like using total defense, total offense, because that shows you how, and you also yards per play on either side, because that tells you how much teams are able to move the ball or stop moving the ball, right? And some people will point it out, like for instance, the ability to stop, or to score, the scoring offense, scoring defense, because Michigan State has like the 85th or whatever total defense, but it's like 26th in scoring defense. So that's fair. But he wanted to bring up Jimmy P here. Wanted to bring up points per drive, which I wholeheartedly agree. That is certainly a worthy stat, and it's something I'll probably start using more often. I just kind of I didn't look too much into some of these things. But that got me into some other things. Because, okay, first of all, as far as opponent adjusted efficiency, and what Brian does is he takes out the garbage time. So this is all non-garbage time. I mean, you can look at adjusted efficiency as well. But Michigan, as far as its FBI score, it is ranked number 4 in the country when it comes to opponent adjusted efficiency. So I think that is pretty interesting. So okay, I'm going to keep my eyes on some of these other teams. Ohio State is 3 in opponent adjusted efficiency. It's got a 0.06 higher FBI score. Other opponents, Penn State is 6. Iowa, who is not an opponent, but in the Big Ten, is number 9. Michigan State, before we get to Michigan State, Wisconsin is 21. Michigan State is all the way down at 24. So Michigan State certainly not doing the job as you would think. So, okay, offensively, Michigan is 5th. Ohio State is 2nd. Obviously, Ohio State is got a much more explosive offense. As far as teams that we're keeping an eye on, Penn State is number 30. Nebraska's 31. Western Michigan is 25, who Michigan's obviously already played. Michigan State is all the way down at 49 when it comes to offensive efficiency. So that represents, per Brian Fremo, the per possession scoring advantage each offense would be expected to have on a neutral field against an average opponent. So that is what it is, and that's adjusted. Defensively, Wisconsin's number 3. Penn State is number 6. Iowa is number 2. Michigan doesn't play, but whatever. Michigan is number 12. So there you go. I forgot to look at here drive success rates. Defensively, Michigan is ranked 10th in touchdown rate, and first down rate, Michigan is 17th, and busted drive rate, they're 7th. Offensive, that's on defense. Offensively, the same metrics. Michigan is 13th in touchdown rate. It is 14th in the value drive rate, which offensive drives that conclude with the drive end value greater than the drive start based on field position. I'm not 100% what that means. 47th, which is not ideal when it comes to first down rate. Certainly we've seen that. Busted drive rate, 106th, also not good. But OTO, the turnover rate, Michigan is number 1. Obviously, 1 turnover so far. So that's that for Michigan. I'm not going to look at other what have you. The reason why I bring all this up is I want to get into strength of schedule. There's this idea that Michigan has not, that the strength of schedule is just absolutely abysmal. So I think that's not 100% accurate. I mean, it's not great, it's certainly not like top tier, because you look at like Wisconsin, for instance, that has one of the hardest strength of schedules. For strength of schedule, Wisconsin, for instance, is, let's see here. What am I looking at here? I want to look at the GLS, the expected number of losses an average team would have against the schedule to date. Though that's an ALS. The GLS is the expected number of losses a good team, one standard deviation above loss would have average today. Anyway, either way, Wisconsin's 9th and 10th in those particular metrics. Strength of schedule ratings, as far as an elite team, 2 standard deviations above the average. I'm going to use something else. I'm just giving you an example of like Wisconsin, which just had a pretty brutal schedule, 16th. Michigan is 30th, 44th, and 60th in those same metrics. Michigan State, it's pretty close, 25, 60, and 83. So anyway, I wanted that's their own thing, pretty even. But I wanted to look at the strength of schedule ratings from some people that's particularly what they do a little bit more with. So we'll start with Power Rankings Guru and go from there. And we're going to have to split this up because I'm going to have to move on here. I'm spending so much time just kind of talking here. So Wisconsin, number 5 strength of schedule thus far. Certainly that goes down a little bit with Army and Illinois. But I'd love to see what it was before. But number 5, because I mean, Arkansas obviously has had some hard go of it. Indiana's had to play Penn State, Iowa, and Michigan State so far. Michigan is at 16 in strength of schedule, according to PowerRankingsGuru.com, of what it has played thus far. Looking at some other teams in there, you look at like Iowa at 9, who's played Penn State and Indiana, and obviously just lost to Purdue. Illinois had some tough sledding at 13. Georgia's at 7. It's played Arkansas and some stuff like that. Anyway, Michigan's at 16 with its Guru rank, which I don't know what that means. I don't think they don't really explain it. Guru rank is, I think that means like overall rank, period. It's number 4. Yeah, because Georgia's number 1, number 2 is Alabama. I'm assuming Ohio State's number 3 there. Michigan State, Ohio State's 3. Michigan State is 58th. So their score is 68.10. That is in the middle easy range, whereas Michigan is in the pretty difficult range. So according to a Power Rankings Guru, now both teams, when you look at future Power Rankings, Michigan State's number 3 in the very difficult range. Michigan's 15th, so still around the same boat. With that in mind, I also had looked up teamrankings.com, which I occasionally use. Let's pause here and we'll go back to that here, and we'll go to team rankings and we'll finish out with that. Just because I want to clear up this idea that because the gurus out there are disagreeing with the people that say, no, Michigan State's, they played in Miami. It was hot. Someone literally said that. Oh, it was super hot, and that's the reason. It's like, dude, you played Youngstown State. That's one of your wins. It's an FCS school. Come on. All right, we'll get to that in a minute. But before we do, hey guys, there are a few things in life that just aren't fun to talk about. One of them is excessive sweating. When you are sweating through your shirts for no reason, it is embarrassing, right? Some of you may know that I have personally dealt with this. When I speak in public, I can't help but sweat through my shirt. Now listen, I know this isn't life or death, and there are much worse problems in the world, but let's be honest. In the moment, it feels like a big deal. Nobody likes to pit out during an important speech, interview, or first date, God forbid. I'd much rather not worry about it. That's why I use SweatBlock antiperspirant wipes. SweatBlock is stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. You simply apply it at night before bedtime, go to bed. Next morning, you wake up, wash, and go about your day without worrying about sweat. Guaranteed. I know this will sound too good to be true, but I literally only have to use SweatBlock once or twice a week. It helps keep me dry the whole time. No more pitting out. No more picking my shirts based on which one will hide sweat better. If you or someone you love is dealing with this, you have to check out SweatBlock. Get it today for 20% off at sweatblock.com with the promo code LOCKEDON, or at Amazon or at CVS. Now, also want to tell you something about that I love. I'm not wearing this because I'm doing this late and whatever. You'll see me with a lot of different shirts from this place, and that's Homefield Apparel. I ordered 6 shirts that I bought. A bunch of them are SEC. One of them was Georgia. Like, how many times have you heard me say how much I don't like Georgia football? Love Georgia basketball. Love Tom Crean. He's my guy. But don't like Georgia football. Yet their shirt designs are incredible. So if you don't know what Homefield is, okay, Homefield is a licensed collegiate apparel company focused on unique and premium and thoughtfully designed vintage apparel. They study college history, the tradition. They tell stories that relive the best moments throughout the apparel. Their apparel also comes on high-quality goods made to last while being extremely soft and comfy. They are, too. Like that, they're the most comfortable shirts and hoodies. I have 2 hoodies. They sent me a Michigan one. I bought a Slippery Rock one. It's awesome. I can't wait for these shirts to arrive. I bought Georgia, Florida. I bought a Texas shirt. I bought an Oklahoma State shirt, an LSU shirt, and something else. Anyway, so they're based out of Indianapolis. They're, like I said, incredibly comfortable, officially licensed apparel, vintage college designs. They've got some great stuff for Michigan. So they have a strong Michigan line too, right? With 18 vintage pieces. And I love. I don't have this one. I'm totally gonna buy it soon. It's got the helmet with a bunch of roses on it. They've got a couple that say like it's great to be a Michigan Wolverine. I think. But I've got the basketball one. It's got number 1 with the hoop on it. It says 1989 champions. It's really awesome. But the hoodies are amazing. The Slippery Rock one, I could not resist it. Anyway, Homefield is officially licensed for over 100 schools, and they add more schools all the time. So for anyone else in your life who doesn't cheer for Michigan, they don't have Ohio State ones. So there you go. But I'll tell you, they've got some amazing stuff that I just adore. So anyway, go to homefieldapparel.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDONWolverines. Get 15% off of your first purchase. Homefield.apparel.com. Promo code LOCKEDONWolverines. All right, I've got like 3 minutes before my camera dies, and we're way over time. But let's run through this fast. Teamrankings.com, which I don't use as often as CFB Stats when it comes to football. I use it all the time for basketball. They have a strength of schedule ranking, which CFB Stats does not have. So when you look at the strength of schedule, the rankings that they have here, Michigan is actually number 16. Keeping in mind, Wisconsin is 13. Michigan is 16. Where is Michigan State? 34. So Michigan's is at least up there, right? In the upper echelon when it comes to that. Now there is some demurring. I'm not going to say that it's all even, but when it comes to like the ESPN FPI and the strength of schedule, looking at the resume, Michigan is let's see, strength of record. Okay, never mind. 5th. Well, remaining strength of schedule. Wait, I don't know. Strength of schedule is 68th. Sorry, that's what I'm looking at. Strength of schedule. Whereas Michigan State is somewhere on here. I could probably should just sort it by this. I'm sure I can do that. Yes, I can. Michigan State is 54th. So Michigan 68th, they're 54th. So not everyone is on the same page. Nonetheless, I mean, I stand by kind of what I said there. All right. I think that I also like to point out the nuance, because I think nuance is important, that part of my argument isn't that necessarily that Michigan's played a tougher schedule. That actually wasn't even my argument. My argument was that Michigan has gone up against tougher defenses. That is the nuance compared to Michigan State. Michigan State's offense ranked way higher, but what defenses has it played that's been any kind of good? Indiana and Nebraska. That's it. Those are the upper echelon defenses they've played. Michigan's played Nebraska, as mentioned. They've played Wisconsin and still had no problem as far as moving the ball. And then you look at some of those other ones. Western Michigan's got a top-ranked defense. They still throttled them and whatever. Anyway, we are running out of time, so we're going to call it. Thank you for joining. Tomorrow we'll do more of a deep dive on the numbers when it comes to Northwestern. But for now, that'll do it. So thank you for watching and or listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow, Wednesday. It'll probably be Wednesday by the time a lot of you check this out. But anyway, thank you. We'll see you soon. Peace.